What is happening, guys? How are y'all doing? This is Rob of Rule2 Review. Welcome back. And man, do we have some crazy information and news, and let's call it what it is, a rumor to talk about. Now, I get it. Talking about rumors is a pretty controversial thing sometimes. A lot of people don't mind it, or they like it. They find it fun and interesting, like I do, obviously. Other people are super against the idea of having conversations about rumors, man. I don't know why, but there are people who hate the idea, and oh my god, Rob, don't you dare talk about rumors, they're basically Satan. And I mean, hey, if that's how you feel about it, that's totally fine, to each their own. I understand why some people maybe don't like a lot of conversations about rumors. I, however, as a lot of you guys know, I love talking about rumors. Rumors get put out there to start conversation, and many times, especially nowadays, some of the crazier rumors or leaks even turn into be real things or based in some kind of truth. So, I think it's a lot of fun to discuss rumors, and what we're talking about today is a doozy. Okay, so what we're talking about today, as you no doubt know, based on both the title of this video and if you've spent even 4 seconds on the internet today or on Twitter, you already know what's been going on, and there's an insane rumor floating out there about what Retro Studios' new game is, and we've all been waiting to hear from Retro for like what feels like 900 years, ever since Reggie was on the VGX or whatever with that stupid little Metroid pin that never turned into anything. Or was it a Donkey Kong pin? I think it was a Metroid pin when he revealed Cranky Kong for Tropical Freeze. Whatever, that was like 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. And we've been waiting to hear what Retro's new game after Donkey Kong was. And now, with E3 looming just a month away, finally some traction about what Retro might be working on has started to pick up. And of course, the rumor, coming from like a Reddit post, which we all know we can trust Reddit to the end of time, sarcasm, the rumor is that what they're working on is actually a Star Fox game, which is initially insanely exciting and like the best news ever. But then, it apparently is going to be some sort of racing game, something akin to Diddy Kong Racing. Now, I've had reason to believe that this might be going on behind the scenes for a little bit now, but of course, I had no reason to ever want to discuss it or do or say anything about it, unless it actually became a bigger story, and maybe the news was broke or the rumor was discussed, and that seems to be what's happening today. So, it's a curious rumor. And obviously, I mean, how many times do I need to say rumor in this video so that we all understand? There was a huge possibility, even with what might have been going on, you know, behind the scenes for however long, there's a huge possibility that this isn't real. This doesn't turn into anything. Maybe this is just one of the many leaks and rumors that turns out to be vaporware and just a big smokescreen for something else. I mean, how silly will we all feel if by the end of the year, we haven't seen even what Retro's even working on, let alone if it's actually the Star Fox racing game. So that caveat just has to be put out here near the beginning of this video. This is a rumor. Maybe it never comes to light. And, you know, in a couple of months, this video might seem totally ridiculous in any other videos that I'm sure many other people on YouTube will want to make discussing this as well. So, I don't know. We'll just have to see. But let's get into the goods and do what you know I like to do. I like to discuss a rumor like this, no matter how crazy it may seem, as if it might be real. Let's pretend we're going to live in a world where, hopefully at E3 next month or sometime before the end of the year, we get the confirmation that this is Retro's next title. It is a Star Fox game, it is a racing game, or a Diddy Kong-like clone. And let's discuss what this could mean and if it's a good idea, a bad idea, do I love it, do I hate it, and the fact that right now people are all over the place, man. This was one of those obvious huge splits and divides in the fan base. I mean, this was the kind of thing that was always going to make headlines. Like, there's just no doubt that this is a headline-making sort of announcement. And, I'm sorry, not announcement, rumor. This is a headline-making rumor. So, okay, what are my thoughts here? What do I think about this Retro making a Star Fox racing game? You know, it's interesting because for years, my dream project, or one of my many dream projects, was for Retro Studios to work on Star Fox. I mean, we saw them do the greatest work ever with Metroid Prime, my #1 favorite game of all time. We saw them do amazing things with Donkey Kong with 2 fantastic side-scrolling Donkey Kong Country games. So right then and there, Retro was able to take and revitalize 2 well-established Nintendo IPs and franchises, Metroid and Donkey Kong. And they knocked them out of the park. They did amazing things with those games and the style of games they were meant to be. And so for me, the obvious next step was, well, give them give them Star Fox, because I love Star Fox ever since the original Super Nintendo release in 1991, I think. Oh my god, huge Star Fox fan. Star Fox 64 is one of my all-time favorite games. And I was like, retro would be great for Star Fox because, yes, it's like those cute, animal kind of critters with foxes and cats and falcos and all, and rabbits and frogs. Yes, it's got that element to it, but also, it's like a sci-fi space shooter. So that setting, that world, that style of game, that genre could be used in a variety of different ways. They could go in more serious realms with it. I even think Star Fox Adventures was a step into the more serious realm, even though it was like a kiddie kind of story to a degree, but that was just more a byproduct of the era that it was released in. I think that there's always been a world where we could see Star Fox move into like a cooler, hipper, more futuristic, sleek kind of experience. And I wanted Star Fox Zero to be that. I like Star Fox Zero. I love that Platinum was brought in to try to tighten that game up for its release. But we all know, even as much as I like it, the game didn't really work. It didn't pan out the way I think Nintendo and Miyamoto wanted. But I do think that they were trying to go into this kind of step in this next direction. So now we have this rumor that Retro might actually be making Star Fox, a Star Fox game. And so that, right off the bat, does make me excited. I think the thing with this is that there's definitely a world where this game could go either way. Again, if it's actually real. And that's the thing with so many people on so many different sides of the fence. They love the idea or they hate the idea. It could go either way. I personally err on the side of optimism, and I see a lot of positive outcomes to this. Absolutely. I am actually way more excited than I am nervous or have any trepidation about it. I absolutely do. And I'll get into that in a minute. But as far as maybe those who aren't into the idea or what could happen here, I will freely admit that there is definitely a chance that this doesn't turn out right. I mean, let's talk about why this is a weird choice. For one, Star Fox is a franchise that's hurting because of Star Fox Zero, because of the huge gap in time we had between really good Star Fox games. Even Star Fox Command on the DS, which I think was the last brand new game before Zero, that game's fine. I don't dislike it, but it isn't great. It didn't light people's Star Fox excitement on fire, and it didn't really feel like kind of the Star Fox experience we wanted. Star Fox Adventures, one of my favorite games, but most people hate that game and didn't like the direction it took. Or Star Fox Assault, okay, Star Fox Assault was before Command, so that part's right. Star Fox Assault, another pretty darned good game, but it did a lot of on-foot stuff that people didn't like. So just, other than the first Star Fox and Star Fox 64, really, they've never had an outright hit that critically and commercially everyone loved in the Star Fox universe. After 64, it's been a rocky road the whole time, regardless of my personal opinions on those games. And so, coming off of Star Fox Zero, probably the most reviled Star Fox game they've ever made, I think it's a little bit risky and weird to take Star Fox and give it to this amazingly talented studio, but make it a weird spin-off with a different genre, with a racing genre that is nothing to do with what the series has ever really tried to do before. I get it. Yes, there's some weirdness to that, and I would agree that maybe in a perfect world, I would rather hear these rumors be Retro is making a traditional Star Fox game, just a normal, on-rails, or the big dogfight arena kind of thing. I'd rather them just do that. Take what Star Fox Zero was supposed to be, make it look better and play better and just be better by Retro Studios from day one development and put it on the Switch. I would 100% prefer that. Also, we think of the racing element idea, and we already have Mario Kart, and obviously what this game is probably going to be is going to be very, very different from Mario Kart. That's kind of my thesis here, and I'll get into that. But at the end of the day, when we just look at the idea of Star Fox racing game, we already have Mario Kart. Mario Kart is already incredible. I'm sure Mario Kart 9 is coming in 2019 or 2020. And so why do a Mario Kart 8 re-release and then a Star Fox racing game just to right after that maybe release the next Mario Kart or whatever's going on? It's like, it doesn't feel or sound like a genre or a game that we need on the Switch. With a Mario Kart and with a Star Fox that normally exists as not a racing game. That is definitely weird. There's another element that a lot of people have brought up, and I also agree with this too, is F-Zero. Oh my god, F-Zero is a game in a series that a lot of people want. We've all been waiting for that forever. And you have this futuristic sci-fi Star Fox game being made into some kind of a racing game. To me, that sounds like you already had that with F-Zero, Nintendo, so why wouldn't you just make an F-Zero sci-fi racing game and then take Star Fox and make more of a Star Fox game? And yeah, tweak and change it a little bit, but just make a Star Fox game. Let the fast sci-fi racing be what already exists. Give people F-Zero. That's what people want. So a lot of those complaints and a lot of the nerves about this is legitimate. And I think that people who have that opinion, their voice counts, and I do understand it. Yes, I'm optimistic and I want to believe in this until we see it. But for now, until we see it, it could turn out to be not that great. Maybe if it's true, and when it's revealed, it turns out to be like, wow, like this is really just, yeah, it's not that exciting. It doesn't look like they had the right idea. Maybe they weren't all on the same page. The execution of the idea, it just isn't coming together. That may happen. But here's the thing, and I want to move into the positive side here because this is really, truly my genuine feeling. And I've been thinking about this for a while. I've been thinking about the idea of a Star Fox and a Diddy Kong racing kind of game, and as the more I thought about it and ruminated on it, I got more and more excited, because when I initially heard the idea, I was like, it's just weird. Like, I can't say that I hate it, but it's just so weird. Why would Star Fox be a retro thing and a racing game? It's just so confusing for so many reasons. If you're gonna try to revive Star Fox, revive it with the most kick-ass R-Wing combat shooter you could possibly make. Don't do racing and don't compare it to Diddy Kong. And I get that. And to be fair, like, let's go to the Diddy Kong thing for a minute, because I think that what happens is most of us who are old enough to have played Diddy Kong love that game. That was a great game when it released on the Nintendo 64. You maybe couldn't release it as much today without tweaking it a lot. I don't know that it's aged so well, but at the time it came out, when Mario Kart was still very new, we only had 2 Mario Kart games, the first one and Mario Kart 64, and then Diddy Kong comes out and you've got planes, you got hovercrafts, you got karts, you have a story, you have a campaign, you have boss modes, you have this cool, huge tropical hub world. It was doing so many great things at that time. And so it's like, that's a great game, but I think that what happens is when we hear about Star Fox game, racing game, and it's like Diddy Kong, I think a lot of people maybe picture what Diddy Kong looked like and felt like, which is like a 20-some-odd-year-old game, and we think, oh, it's just this goofy, very light, kiddie, cartoony graphics, just simple little dumb racing game, like a distraction game, not a mainline kick-ass Star Fox game. And I think that a lot of it is the visual style. We think of what Diddy Kong looked like, and we just basically give that a Star Fox skin, and then that doesn't seem very exciting in our brains. Like, I totally agree. That's how I thought about it at first. But I think when we think of the skeleton of the Diddy Kong experience and what that game represented and what it was doing at the time on the hardware that existed at the time, it was incredible. It was like next level amazingness. There were so many crazy cool ideas that were thrown into that game, and they were all executed perfectly. Like, the game turned out fantastically. So now, if we try to take that idea and apply it to a 2018 game and a 2018 industry and a 2018 Nintendo that is just knocking all of their development out of the park, and then you take all those things, and then you take Retro Studios, who has not made one bad game since they made Metroid Prime, my favorite game of all time, in 2002. They haven't made one bad game, and you put them on top of all this goodness. I think that there is possibly a recipe for an absolutely incredible Star Fox experience. I think that when I think of taking the Diddy Kong formula from the late 90s and morphing it into something modern for 2018 gaming and for the Nintendo Switch, I think about not these cute little tiny simple races with different vehicles. I think about a very deep and expansive online component with many different modes to pick from. It doesn't necessarily have to be relegated to just racing. I mean, this is why, if the game is real, we need to see it to understand it, because that is going to help us with all of our worries here. Because it could be something where maybe racing is like one of several modes. Maybe it's not actually like a Star Fox racing game. Maybe it's Star Fox with many different sort of competitive modes to it, and racing is just one of the main components. That reminds me, I should bring up, to be fair, this is kind of counterpoint to what I'm saying now that I think about it. To be fair, the rumored title per some sort of like Nintendo leak picture is Star Fox Grand Prix. And to be fair, Grand Prix is a racing term. So maybe it is focused on racing. Still, I still think my theory here holds true. Maybe racing is just one of the main components to it, and there's many other things we can do. I picture Retro Studios taking incredible Star Fox gameplay and combat, space combat, and making huge online dogfighting arenas. What if that's what we're doing? Or one of the many things that we're doing in this game, and a huge component to this is something like that. On a variety of different locations within the Lilat system. You're on planets, you're in space, you're at space stations, you're in rocky caverns on a dinosaur planet or whatever. You're picking from a variety of Star Fox characters, who are all awesome, by the way. And you're just doing huge dogfights online with maybe like a bunch of people. And then there's also a racing. And then maybe there's also, here's one huge thing I think about, is honestly just a mission-based campaign. I think that there's a huge chance we're going to get something like that as well. Diddy Kong did have that. And even Star Fox Assault on the GameCube, which was very focused on like local competitive modes and versus stuff, it was also still focused very much on a mission-based campaign. And I would have to think, if Retro is making this weird Star Fox racing spin-off thing, this Star Fox Grand Prix, I'm sure there's going to be some sort of campaign or some sort of single-player missions or even co-op missions where hopefully you're in your R-Wing and you're going on rails levels and you're doing great Star Fox combat. I mean, I think there's a good chance that we get a lot of different things in this game and it becomes this huge complete package of just amazing Star Fox gameplay. Like so many things I've already discussed around this game, it just comes down to when we see it. We have to see this game. A, it has to be proven to be real, which it might not be. And B, we need to see it running. I mean, I made a tweet about this, and I think we all need to stop and remember what it was like when Mario plus Rabbids was getting leaked. And I am guilty of this, by the way, how a lot of us weren't excited about the game and thought it had no chance at being good if it was real. And I firmly admit, I made like 1 or 2 videos and I said some stuff on Twitter. I was never outright mean or like crappy to the game. I was always like kind of open-minded, but my general feeling about it was like, I don't like this idea. I'm not excited about this idea. I don't know if I need this game to exist. It doesn't seem appealing, so I'll wait and see, but I think it sounds dumb. That's what I felt about Mario plus Rabbids, and now it's literally one of my 5 best games on the Wii U. I mean, it turned out great. Everyone was excited for it by the time we saw it at E3. Thank God, those leaks absolutely helped. And it sold well, and like I said, I made a top 5 Switch games, and it was like my number 5 or 4 game or whatever. Like, I love the game. It's really good. Most of us love that game. And I do have to say, this is my own personal conspiracy, man. This comes from nothing but just my brain, so just so we know. I feel like with Mario plus Rabbids, I've said this before, I kind of think that all those leaks for months and months ahead of time were sort of controlled or part of the plan from maybe Nintendo or Ubisoft, so that it sort of softened the blow to everybody for what that game was going to be, warmed everyone up to the very idea of it, so that by the time it was actually revealed on stage at E3, everyone was actually excited. They were just happy and relieved to see, okay, this game is real. It totally does exist. Look there's Miyamoto and Izgamon on stage together. Now we're excited. Homeboy's crying. Everyone is in love with it. And it turned out to be great. I kind of think that was a brilliant marketing plan. It might not be true. My conspiracy might not be true. And maybe none of those leaks were supposed to get out. But regardless, I do think they helped with the world accepting that game for what it was. And so, if there's truth to Retro's Star Fox game, maybe my conspiracy is true again, and maybe these are leaks that are supposed to be getting out there to achieve the same effect, because Mario plus Rabbids was a polarizing concept from the get-go. Everyone was going to tear that idea apart at first. And that's exactly what's happening with the Star Fox racing game. Many people are tearing it apart. They're not open-minded to it. They don't think it has a chance to be good. People are wanting things like F-Zero instead, or just a traditional racing game, which, again, I actually would prefer both of those as well. If I could pick, give me an F-Zero game, give me a traditional Star Fox game, I don't need this racing thing. But, because of all the factors I've discussed in this video, I think if it's real, it has a huge chance at turning out great. It might suck. They might screw it up. Yes, I will totally give you guys that. It might turn out bad. And if that does happen, I will discuss it. I'll make a video, of course. I'll talk about it on Twitter. Hey, you know, I wanted to believe this would be great, but now that we've seen it, yeah, it looks kind of dumb. It looks kind of cheesy. It looks like it's paper-thin content in combat. I don't care. It's a mistake. And I'll say that. I don't mind saying that if that happens. But it's Retro Studios, guys. It's Retro. Like, whatever they're making, it's gonna be good. They've yet to make a bad game. Eventually they will. Maybe this game turns out to be their first bad game, but I don't think it's going to, man. If this game exists, I don't think this is gonna be Retro's first huge mistake. And a lot of people are saying this could be a waste of talent. How could this be the game that they've been working on for 4.5 years? Yada, yada, yada. Very good points. I mean, Retro was so talented, they should be doing some really crazy good stuff. But I think that Retro is a two-team studio. I remember many years ago that was a discussion, and so it's very possible that they're just working on more than one thing. I mean, who knows? Maybe, maybe not, but I would like to believe, based on what this game turns out to be like, that maybe that's the case. So anyway, man, obviously so much to talk about here, and I probably could talk about a lot more, but I'm not going to do that. I'm sure I'm going to be hopefully starting my podcast or being on some other podcast soon. I might even do a guest video kind of thing with somebody on Ro2R Review. I want to wait to talk about this anymore, and this news is so fresh, it could change so drastically, not only in the next few weeks, but literally today. Sometimes that happens, man. By the end of the day, so much about this game might be different, or who even knows. I mean, let's just wait and see, but this is exciting to me. Like, whether or not this is real or not, this is the best time. I don't mind leaks and rumors and things like this anymore like I used to. I just think it's exciting to have information getting out there and everyone's talking about games and theorizing and guessing and rumors about this and that. Oh my gosh. It's kind of exciting to have this stuff happening, man. There's so much going on right now in the build up to E3. I'm expecting a great show next month, and this Star Fox thing, man. I'm open-minded. I'm very open to it. I trust Retro. I love the Star Fox brand, and I want to believe if this is the direction Nintendo and Retro chose to go with Star Fox, I want to believe it's the right one. And I know people might say, well, Star Fox Zero, that's what they thought, and obviously that turned out bad. And yeah, everyone makes mistakes, man. Maybe that was just an unfortunate mistake and the stars didn't align properly for that game. The Wii U was a strange time for Nintendo, so I'm willing to just give them a pass and believe that they think this is the best way to go forward. This could turn out to be so incredible, you guys. Let's just be optimistic for now until we see it if it's real. And again, if we see it and it's bad, then it's bad and we know it's bad. But right now, I think it makes more sense to have faith in Nintendo and have faith in Retro Studios to make a really good game, whatever they're doing. So, those are my thoughts. Oh my goodness, so much to say. What do you guys think? Do you love this idea? Do you hate this idea? Do you believe it? Do you not believe it? What do you think about all of my theories and opinions I put out there? I gotta hear you guys talk about this crazy news. And that's it for me today. Thanks as always for tuning in, guys. This is Rob of Ro2R Review, and I will catch you next time on another video.